how do you train the quit out of your life? And what does that process look like? And it was, whew, um, this was really, really tough to go through. And it started back in April with how I approached training, how I approached my limitations or the things that come up along the way. And I had to dive really deep into figuring out why I react the way I do and why I have the internal dialogue or anxiety or conflicts that I do and where they came from. And I went all the way back to my earliest memories of this stuff coming up and I cataloged everything and I made notes and, you know, you know, recorded like micro traumas that caused me to have these reactions that laid the groundwork to who I became as a person or who I am today and why I deal and struggle with the things that I do so that I could better understand them so that I wouldn't have to constantly react that way. And that is a very unpleasant process to go through. But I think if you want healing, that's where you have to start. You have to be willing to accept that things have happened and you've been programmed to react in ways that maybe other people haven't. And that's okay. You just need to understand it. And so I developed new mechanisms and you can't bring a mantra into a race. You can't say, this is what I'm going to say to myself when things get tough. You can't, as wonderful as it is to take quitting off the table, if you've never done that before, you're not going to be able to do that. It's not enough to say, I'm going to go into this and I'm just not going to quit. Well, what in your history, what in your life, what in your psyche makes you believe that you can simply just do that because you want to?
Because you haven't done it in the past. Just for whatever that is.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I've tried to adopt some of those things and it just hasn't worked. And so I had to genuinely reprogram my thought process and what I think. And I started that when I started training for this race. The only thing I heard in my head for 100 miles, I said over and over and over again, I said one thing to myself: you are strong, you are capable, keep going. Over and over and over and over again. From the minute I started, from the minute they said go to the minute I finished. Didn't matter who was with me. Didn't matter if I was alone. Didn't matter if I was feeling good or feeling bad. And in the moments where my mind shifted and wandered, I brought it back to center. When you said, hey, we're going to run, I said to myself, you were strong, you were capable, keep going. Over and over and over again. And I flooded my brain with that. So there was no space for anything else. There was no room for anything else to keep in, because what I was telling myself is that I was strong and I was capable and I was going to keep going. So if that's all you hear, that's your only option. And when it started running, it was basically, I felt like I was just gaslighting myself out on these training runs, because that's not how I thought about myself when I was running. That's not essentially how I view myself in the day to day. But then you get to a place and that, hey, obviously this is true.
Yeah.
And this is what you're doing. And so I equipped myself in that way. And when I had those moments where I had thoughts that I didn't like or was struggling with not being present, I just talked to myself out loud the way I would talk to anybody. Like I was my best advocate out there. I didn't need anybody else to give me a hard talk, a hard conversation, because I was already doing that. I wasn't coming in and saying how horrible it was and I don't know. And like, no, I know I can do this. I'm strong and I'm capable and I can keep going. And sometimes I would say, you are strong, you are capable, you can keep going, because I needed somebody else to tell me that. So it bounced back and forth. And I think there was one point I was, I don't know, kind of singing to myself, you were strong, you were strong, capable, confident, and calm for a bit. But it was just a constant message that was much more than a mantra. It was the foundation of everything I was doing that day.